All right, let's dive in. Today we're doing something a little different. Instead of just giving you the news, we're going to show you how to build the news machine itself. We're going to assemble a daily crypto brief right here from scratch. I'm talking the full blueprint so you can do it too. Let's get started.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the actual blueprint. Then, the all-important step, picking your news. After that, we'll get hands-on crafting stories for the market and the wider ecosystem. And finally, we'll put it all together and see the final product. Simple as that.
You know, the biggest problem in crypto, right? It's just the sheer amount of information coming at you every single day. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. So, our mission today is to turn that chaos into clarity. And it all starts with a solid, simple structure.
So that really gets us to the core question, doesn't it? How on earth do you take that flood of headlines and turn it into something focused, something you can actually digest in, say, 6 minutes? Well, it's not magic, I promise you. It's all about having a framework.
And here it is. The blueprint is actually super simple and, most importantly, repeatable. You've got a quick 15-second intro to hook them in, then the meat of it. 5 stories, each about 75 seconds long, and you wrap it all up with a tight 10-second outro. That's it. That's the whole formula.
Okay, now for what is honestly the most critical part, picking your stories. Curation is everything. Look, your audience is sharp. They don't need "what is Bitcoin explained" for the 1000th time. They need fresh, actionable news, stuff that actually matters to them. Every story has to have a clear "so what" for someone who's already in the space. So for our example show today, these are the 5 we've landed on. We've got a Binance outage, that's a direct hit for traders, a JP Morgan price call, that gives us the institutional angle, a FinCEN report for some much-needed regulatory context, Ethereum's volume, which is a great pulse check on network health, and a killer partnership for Pyth, showing real-world adoption. See? Every single one has a point.
All right, let's get to it. Time to start crafting these stories. We'll kick things off with the market movers, the news that traders and investors are watching closely. We're going to take these dense articles and boil them down into tight, punchy scripts.
Okay, story number 1, the Binance outage. So you read the article, and what do you pull out? You're looking for the core facts. What happened? A system issue with their unified margin product. So what? Well, traders were completely locked out, couldn't manage or close their positions. And how big a deal is this? We're talking an exchange with over $40 billion in open interest. Boom, boom, boom. Those are your key ingredients.
And now, we take those ingredients and bake them into our lead sentence. This is the hook. It tells you exactly what happened, who it affected, and the massive scale of the problem all in one go. This single line becomes the foundation for your 75-second segment. From here, you just flesh it out with the other details.
Okay, so we went from a very hands-on trader issue. Now let's zoom out to the big picture, the institutional view. We're going to do the exact same thing with this JP Morgan report. We'll pull out the key facts, the analyst, the core data point, which is this historic low in volatility, that huge price target of $126,000, and of course the why behind it, all that corporate buying.
And just like before, we distill it all down into one powerful opening line. This hook does all the heavy lifting. It makes a bold claim, too low, and immediately gives you the key piece of evidence, low volatility. It's a structure that just grabs your listener and makes them want to know more about that big number.
All right, so market stories are done. Now let's pivot and look at the broader ecosystem. And these stories are just as important, right? We're talking adoption, regulation, the actual tech, the stuff that shows us where this whole thing is headed long term.
So, story number 3 is this FinCEN report. Now, on the surface, it seems like a pretty standard story about illicit finance, money laundering. You know the drill. We pull out the basics. Who? FinCEN. When? 2020 to 2024. What? Chinese criminal networks. But the real magic, the thing that makes this story pop, is adding one simple piece of context.
And this is where you get that aha moment. This is how you provide real value. So FinCEN says U.S. banks move $312 billion for these guys. But then you pull in some data from Chainalysis and realize the entire illicit volume for all of crypto over that same time frame was only $189 billion. Whoa! All of a sudden, this isn't just a story about crypto crime. It's a story about perspective, about scale. And that one comparison completely flips the script.
So you see, the script we build isn't just FinCEN released a report. No, it's about the context. That's how you turn a boring news item into a powerful insight. You're using data to tackle a huge piece of FUD head-on, giving your audience a perspective they just aren't going to get anywhere else. Okay, so we've done regulation, now let's get back on chain and talk fundamentals. A perfect example is a story about ecosystem health, like Ethereum's on-chain volume. Again, we just pull out the core facts. The big number, over $325 billion in August. Why it matters. It's the highest it's been since May 2021. And what's pushing it? More corporate cash and super low gas fees.
And having a visual really helps hammer this home, because that $325 billion, it's not just some abstract number, right? It's real economic throughput. It's a direct signal of network health, and it's being driven by actual, real-world usage and big companies putting their money to work.
And so, the line we write for our script is packed with data, but it also connects the what with the why. It's the perfect setup for your 75 seconds. It gives them the record-breaking number right away, and then it teases the two big reasons they'll want to stick around to hear about: the corporate money and the cheap fees.
And for our last story, we've got a huge one. A massive signal for real-world adoption. The facts here are simple, but man, are they powerful. The U.S. Department of Commerce is officially partnering with Pipe Network. And for what? To publish official U.S. GDP data on-chain. I mean, come on. The market, of course, went nuts. The Pipe token jumped over 70% on the news.
But you know what? That 70% price jump, that doesn't even tell the whole story. Not even close. The real tell, the sign of just how insane the market reaction was, is this: a 2,700% surge in 24-hour trading volume. That's not just interest. That is an absolute explosion of capital rushing in, basically screaming that this news is a very, very big deal.
So the final script ties it all together beautifully. It connects the cause, the government partnership, with the effect, the massive market reaction. This cause and effect structure is just so effective. It gives you the what and the why in one breath. It's the perfect story of real-world validation meeting pure market excitement.
So, after all that work, the curating, the fact-finding, the scripting, what do we end up with? We get the final product, a complete, polished, and really powerful daily news brief.
And here they are, 5 tight, informative headlines that are the backbone of our 6-minute show. Every single one of them is the direct result of that process we just walked through. They're timely, they're relevant, and they're actionable. This is what turning chaos into clarity actually looks like in practice.
Look, we've handed you the blueprint. We've walked through the entire process step by step. You now have the exact framework you need to do this for yourself every single day. So I guess there's only one question left to ask. What are your 5 stories going to be tomorrow?